puzzling. What else can we find in history where we've had these very close contact reports with military pilots or personnel with UFOs?
Well, the first on record is from January 1948. That's when an Air National Guard pilot named Thomas Mantell was ferrying a plane from Georgia up to Kentucky. And what he didn't know was while he was flying north, people all over Kentucky were reporting seeing strange objects in the sky. So Mantell's flying into this area where all these sightings are taking place, and he gets the order to change course, follow this thing, find out what it is. So he breaks off from the 3 other pilots in his group and basically starts chasing this object, starts following it higher and higher. Unfortunately, his plane wasn't equipped with oxygen.
Ooh.
Yeah. He was on a short flight at lower altitude, and he didn't need the oxygen.
And he's flying way past an altitude where you need oxygen.
And he passed out.
He may have actually suffocated at 30,000 feet before he went into his crash dive. All we know for sure is he got to about 25, 30,000 feet and his plane crashed.
Mantell case was a real tragedy.
As far as we know, it wasn't directly caused by the UFO, but getting up there and following it was an impetus that maybe caused his death.
Yeah, exactly. Captain Mantell, when he set out that day in his airplane, he had no idea that he would be sent off to chase some weird thing in the sky. He had no idea.
And that he would be dead before the day's over.
Yes.
People's lives have and can be taken because of these events. And therefore, I think it's a safety concern, and it's something I think the government should officially take on the Huey helicopter.
On the helicopter, they did a Magnaflux test the next day. The Magnaflux test, what they would do is spray on a chemical. Then it would put like an ultraviolet light to it and look for fractures.
Okay.
Well, why would you do a Magnaflux test out of the clear blue sky? To me, unless you're looking for something.
Do you know who did this? I mean, their superiors?
It was just like the mechanics. There was no mention of exactly like who ordered it.
Okay.
But it was just done.
So they get back, they do these tests on the helicopter.
Right.
It's unusual.
Right.
To be testing an aircraft on a routine flight, right?
That soon afterwards. I mean, why would you do that? To me, that would be such a major coincidence that they would do it the next day.
Right. So what about the crew? Did they debrief them on the whole thing?
Well, that's another interesting thing. So it took like 6 months for eventually a disposition to get filled out with like the FAA, where they documented everything that happened. And I asked Healy and Janacek both about that document. I said, does the military mind you talking about this? As long as we stay with the story. Mm-hmm. So basically, what they were saying is, as long as I don't vary and kind of become very opinionated on everything and I just stay with the script, they're fine with me.
Huh.
So I'm like...
This thing is sort of moving in oddball patterns. You could say, well, it looks like instantaneous direction changes. It's the type of thing that's been reported for years, but people didn't know how to believe it. A guy where I worked told me about a sighting he and his kids had one day in the Washington, D.C. area. I never published this, but I might. He's long gone. Anyway, he said he was out there sitting on his lawn one Sunday. This was back in the 70s. He looks up and he sees this thing come dropping down to some apparent altitude, and as he's watching, another one comes in from another direction, and then he's got 2 of these things side by side. Then one of them goes right straight up, and the other one leaves by going bing, 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 a zigzag motion.
So what you're saying is they may have been seeing the same types of objects, but they were just seeing it differently.
Right. Well, they didn't know how to interpret it.
I'll tell you, with my experience with hoaxes and CGI, if this is CGI, this is actually really pretty good. It takes a lot of detail, in my opinion, to do an overlay composite and give that motion blur and the frame and the attention to the detail in that. If this is this close to camera now, this is the last frame. So you're seeing frame by frame, together. As it gets closer, it spreads out. not a lot of people would know even to consider doing that in a hoax.
That's true.